So this is huge, guys. Red alert, shots have been fired. All right, this is one of many escalations that have happened in the last few days. But this one is probably the most dangerous one that has happened and the most real that has happened. All right, these pilots were probably crapping themselves when this happened. They probably did not expect this. And this could happen at any moment, and this could bring us into a giant, massive world war. All right, so this is very dangerous. This could happen from any side, but it came from the Russian side this time. Russian missiles fire at UK pilots. All right, this is very serious. So this also comes as Russian bombers have entered Alaskan airspace. All right, they've entered an official Alaskan air zone. All right, it is not officially Alaskan sovereign airspace, all right, but it is an Alaskan air zone that is a military patrolled zone by the US, and Russian bombers have entered this zone in the past few days, and they were escorted out by US jets. All right, this was right near Alaska, and I believe this was a flex. This was a show to show that we can send our bombers here at any moment. They had to scramble to escort these bombers away, and because they kind of came up on them, kind of surprised them a little bit. All right, so this can happen anytime, anywhere, and now a missile has been fired at a UK plane, which is part of NATO. Okay, so let's dive into this. All right, so a Russian fighter jet fired a missile near a RAF nuke sniffer spy plane over the Black Sea in a, quote, dangerous clash. All right, so this spy plane was on a mission, and apparently it's a, quote, nuke sniffer spy plane that can detect radioactive material very sensitively, all right? And it allows them to do reconnaissance. It allows them to collect data within the area. And apparently this is a unarmed plane. It has no weapons. It was over the Black Sea doing a reconnaissance mission, trying to get information on what is going on. All right, and the Russian fighter jets started following them, right? So they said this is normal for them to be trailed by fighter jets in this region, but they were trailed for over an hour and a half, they said. All right, so this is actually quite a long time for this to go on, over an hour and a half, and they claimed there was a, quote, malfunction, all right, which could be true, but it's also, it seems pretty rare, all right, it's probably a warning shot, to be honest, from a Russian fighter jet at this, quote, nuke sniffer plane. There was a missile fired at it from the Su-27 flanker, all right, at a RC-135W rivet joint spy plane. All right, so from the UK. So this could have easily been a huge disaster. What if this missile struck the plane directly and the pilots went down, and a Russian jet struck a NATO plane and we got dragged, and NATO responded. NATO did something crazy, all right? This could go either way. NATO is running constant drills, is running constant surveillance. An accident could happen at any moment. All right, Poland was asking for nukes to be put inside their borders when they're having a massive conflict, miles from their borders. Anything could happen. A spillover could happen at any moment, and this was a very close call, a very dangerous call, having Russian fighter jets fire on NATO planes. All right. Almost got dragged into a massive war. All right, close call. Thankfully, nothing happened. Hopefully, it was just a malfunction. But who knows? It could have been a warning shot to show that this could happen. All right. And this comes as the U.S. is officially saying that Iranian troops are in Crimea and they're backing Russian drone strikes. All right. So I reported this a few days ago that they are on their way to Ukraine to help with these drone strikes to implement these new drones. But now they are officially in Ukraine and they're in Crimea and they're training Russian soldiers. And there's been reports that they are even controlling the drones. Iranian troops are controlling the drones, these kamikaze drones that are crashing into buildings and exploding. All right, there's been reports that Iranian troops are the ones with their hands on the trigger, right, on the controller, okay, for the drone. So very serious. This is another country being dragged into the war. All right, this is another country that's committing acts in the war, right? And you can say both ways. The United States is doing the same thing. NATO has commandos inside of Ukraine. This was reported by the New York Times a couple weeks ago. NATO has commandos inside of Ukraine from multiple different countries, all right? The CIA also has operatives inside of Ukraine right now, right? The CIA, it's kind of strange that the CIA is over there, but I guess it makes sense. But I just did not expect it. I thought maybe special operations, military operations with the United States military would be there, but the CIA is also inside of Ukraine operating military operations. All right, so this is huge. Belarus is saying they are going to enter the war. All right, they have amassed tens of thousands of troops, and Russia has been sending supplies by train to Belarus constantly. All right, North Korea, surprisingly, a few months ago, all right, I just remember this. North Korea, a few months ago, I believe, offered like 200,000 or 300,000 troops for Russia to send to Ukraine. All right, hundreds of thousands of troops. I don't know if that's a real thing. I don't know how they would get them there logistically, if they have that capacity, if they're actually trained or anything like that. This is North Korea. But the fact that these escalations are, the battle lines are being drawn, all right? It's North Korea, China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and Iran are all forming and becoming very strong allies right now. War brings countries together, all right? When countries are backed into a corner and there's lines drawn in the sand, they get pushed away from their enemies and pushed towards their natural allies. They are all natural allies. They all have problems with the West. They all want to take on NATO. They all do not like the US, all right? They all have issues with Western governments, Western leaders, Western ideologies, Western military strategies, whole nine yards. They all have common interests. They are all natural allies, and they are all coming together. And we could see massive mobilizations inside of Ukraine. This could be the breeding ground where we have 10 different countries in this country all fighting each other in a massive proxy war. And what happens when it spills over, all right? Just like this missile strike on the UK spy plane, right? What happens when this spills over and they start hitting each other? It's like, oh, it's just the Russians versus the Ukrainians, but is it really? Or is it a bigger war with multiple actors on both sides? And what happens when they start hitting each other's personnel? All right, there's going to be huge problems and huge backlash, and it could drag NATO directly into this war, right? Or these other countries, North Korea could get dragged directly, and Iran could get dragged directly in and want to use more weapons. You know what I mean? It's like everyone's getting dragged into this scenario. So let me know what you guys think. This is a huge escalation that a Russian fighter jet fired on a UK plane. They said it was a, quote, malfunction, all right? But who knows? It could be. That definitely could be true. But it also could have been a warning shot to show that this is serious, right? So thank you guys for watching. Please get prepared, and you guys have a big old blessed day.